how we can make KL more livable and lovable. So it's going to be a very broad-ranging conversation over the next hour or so.
I was in the UN for the past 6 years, from 2018 to 2024, and I have the opportunity to visit around 79 countries within that range, and visited many cities either in the African region or the Asia Pacific or Latin America and Europe. I think when your question that where Kuala Lumpur now, I'm not from Kuala Lumpur, you know, my hometown is in Kuala, and many people thought that I'm from Penang because I spent nearly 39 years in Penang. So I'm not Kuala Lumpur, not a KLite, but when I've been invited to be appointed to be the mayor of Kuala Lumpur, my first impression is that, well, it's not too bad, but where you compare with, you comparing, because I have the opportunity to go to the African continent, to Europe continent, to Asia continent, even in Asia, I think whether it's where we are, whom do we compare with? If we compare with the countries, I think within Africa, we are very far up. Because we have all the facilities, the hardware and the software. That's why I said the hardware is that we have the infrastructure, we have the facilities, we have, just take one basic utility, water. In many countries in Africa, they don't even have water supply. Electricity. But if you compare Kuala Lumpur maybe with Singapore, in what way they want to compare, and with maybe Seoul, or with maybe Tokyo, then maybe a different parameter. So I think depend what parameter that we put. But from my general observation, we are not that bad. We are at the par with even within the ASEAN region.
Okay, so
but there's still room for improvement.
Okay, so it's not a matter of making something unlivable to livable, it's making something livable to even more livable,
yes,
essentially.
That's right.
So where are the areas that you think we fall short then, Dato? Because I think that's what everyone's looking at, right? We're okay, but what are we lacking in?
I think what we are lacking here is that in terms of the infrastructure, I think that is many people, even yesterday in the dialogue, Datuk Bandar, we want to walk in your city. We want to have seamless walkability in your city, like in other cities, but we don't have that. That's why one of my priorities for 2025 is the green connector. We want to have a seamless walkability within the city center for all, because the motto or the theme of the BKL is City for All. But are we preparing for City for All? But it's not only the BKL here, because managing cities is not only by the mayor, it's also by other agencies, by the people, by the external agencies, by either is it by the ministry or even by the people around, and also by the private sector. So what I mean is that walkability and seamless connectivity, that's one. The second is we're also talking about the traffic, public transport. It's an area, traffic, public transport. How can we work together with Pasrana, with MRT, and how can we, in the planning, we already have the local plan being gazetted, and now today is the effective date. And we try to have a policy like TOD and all that. Now it's implementation. Not only by the BKL, but also to be followed by the private sector, by the people. That is one. And then the third is on the climate change. I think one of the areas climate change that people put forward that banjir, flooding. Yes, when I came in, there were 31 hotspots, but now reduced to 20, and we hope that by end of the year we want to reduce to 10 hotspot, flooding hotspot in the city. So I think these are the areas that we have room for improvement, but at the same time, we are also to a certain extent, I think we need to bring back the soul of Kuala Lumpur. The activity, the content, the soul, the culture, the arts, and the heritage in Kuala Lumpur. Because when you want to come to Kuala Lumpur, maybe you are here for 1 week. What can I do within 1 week in Kuala Lumpur? Where should we go? Because I think now people don't choose the country where they want to live. They choose the city. So what are Kuala Lumpur compared to maybe other cities in Malaysia or even in other countries offer in terms of the culture, arts and heritage. So I think that's the 3 or 4 areas that concern. Thank you.
I personally like things that are more reflective of how the community is doing. So Dato' Banda said just now about the soul, right? How do we build a soul? How do you measure that a city has soul, right? So I'm just making sure that the audience is still with us. Let me ask a question, right? Today, imagine if you have a 10 to 12-year-old in your household. How many of you are willing to let your 10 to 12-year-old walk out to get bread for the next 20 minutes and come back? How many?
Can we see a show of hands?
Hannah.
Nobody would let their 12-year-old go to the store.
One. So I think this kind of metrics to me reflects whether the community, one, trusts each other, two, they believe that the city is safe enough for me to let my 10 to 12-year-old out. Because I remember doing errands, like going to the store, getting garlic, I'm sure Dato' Banda remember one time we used to do that also. But we no longer feel safe doing that, right? And there are a couple of reasons, not just crime, etc., but just simply walkability. Is it safe for my young kid to walk and not get hit by a car? Is there shade? Is there people, community is looking after my kid? So the Padang last time, right, when you walk out, you send your kids out, you feel like your neighbors are able to watch out for your kid. But today, is that viable? And I'm not saying that this is all solved by DBKL, etc., but I'm just saying that some of these metrics is more real, right, in terms of how people love the city. And of course, you can measure that in different ways, but some of these metrics to me tells us whether the city, beyond the infrastructure and beyond the border and the transportation etc., does it reflect how much the city is functioning as a platform for us to live in it.
I took 3 days. Remember, I think 1 week, sorry, 1 week in the lobby of the BKL before we gazette. At the final level, we exhibited. Please look at that, whether your feedback has been taken into account, whether your comment be taken into account. Actually, I don't have to do that under the law.
The 3-day grace period.
But we did.
Because, the making of Kuala Lumpur's public transport network is now 4 decades old, and I'm not from Kuala Lumpur, but I'm told that it started in the early 80s, and so it's more than 4 decades old. And yet, we are still in a situation where we are kind of don't have a complete network. The Circle Line is still in the making, and likely happen another 10 or 15 years from now. So when you have what I call a network that is not complete, it forces people to have choices. People look for choices, and that's where we are now kind of caught. Because from a real estate standpoint, if they need to sell their product on the basis of convenience, and you want to make sure that their commute times are efficient and so on. So obviously people want to choose those options in terms of thinking about why maybe they're asking for car parks. But so this is going to be one of the challenge, and maybe part of the city living is that you have to go through some pain. It's not, political will is important, but also has to come through with some pain. And I think we need to socially conscientize that I have to accept the fact that we have to go through some pain. We can't build more roads, we can't have more cars. The last 4 decades, we have seen many more highways, many more expansion of road networks. The road networks in Kuala Lumpur has gone into thousands of kilometers. Yet, commute time in Kuala Lumpur on average is 45 minutes to an hour and a half. It hasn't changed from the 90s, 2000, till today. The commute time remains. So we know the fact that by building roads, it's not going to solve. So it needs a far much more aggressive approach of making sure that this issue of mode share and making sure that what you call our planning and design makes such that integrates this whole idea of a much more walkable and accessible city.
From federal to local and also private sector, the ordinary people, the NGOs, and then the academicians, everybody. So that is our local plan, not the PKL local plan. I think that is one document where we bring together, as you said, that the various agencies, the various level of community in Kuala Lumpur. That is the product, the local plan. So of course now that is the product. How is the implementation? Because in you look at the local plan, I just take that as example, the local plan. There are many actors that need to implement the strategy and the proposal in the local plan. Not only the PKL. There are also the Department of Environment, Department of Transport, the Department of Perpaduan, and every one of us have to take active. So meaning that after we gazette today, and then we implement today, it's not only the PKL have to look at the local plan and implement, because there are many agencies need to be involved in implementation. So if we really look into the integrated approach, the whole of government approach, that's the D plan. I remember when I went to Singapore, I want to share these stories. When I went to Singapore, I shared with maybe many of you have heard it. I went to Singapore in the 90s. Even they are from different ministry, because they are city-state, yeah, from different ministry. The first three plans are always the same plan, always the same slide. Why? Because they believe in this is the. I still remember Singapore in the olden days before Merdeka, Singapore, and they have the master plan and Singapore today for SG50 and SG100. When I put up my hand, I said that, are you being asked to use this slide, the first three slides in your presentation? Then they said, what do you mean? They don't even realize that. What do you mean by that, Baimuna? But I realized that all of you, all the speakers, use the first three slides as your mukadimah, as your introduction to your matter. So meaning that either you are from different ministry, these are the plan for Singapore. So what I mean is that either you are from different ministry, different department, these are the plan for Kuala Lumpur. Then only you can see that there is no conflict and overlapping. But of course, in the reality is that, yeah, I mean this is within my territory because the silo is still there. I can admit that the silo is still there. So I would like here very much to say that to treat the local plan as an investment plan, to treat the local plan as our plan, as environmental plan, as the perpaduan plan, whatever is unity plan, because that is the most, I think, recent and the most detailed plan in this case for Kuala Lumpur. So if we treat the local plan as our plan, to me there is no conflicts.
Okay.
Thank you.
So the local plan is supposed to be that first slide in all the presentations of the ministries.
You are in Singapore, the other one was just saying Singapore, everybody is consistent because the data is shared. So it is very easy for each department to zoom out and see, hey, I want to build a road. Oh, there's a water pipe there. Because they just go through the data and go like, oh, there's a water pipe there. There is, telecom has some line fiber there. I can't dig here because I'm going to disrupt water, I'm going to disrupt gas. Sorry, I have to mention gas. Gas is a pain point. But that's the problem, right? So for coordinators, it becomes very hard when you can't know how to stitch everybody, get everybody to be on the same page when you have no same information. So in Singapore, what they have done right was they made the information open. So when you're open, I can plan, right? I'm sitting in telco department, the MCMC, and I'm going, okay, I need a fiber running through here. Do I have a duplicate fiber? I need water pipe increased here or sewage pipe increased here because Dato' Bandar just approved 5,000 units affordable housing in this location. I need increase in sewage treatment. I need a plan for my cash flow to raise money as IWK to build, right? So all these things are interconnected. They don't function in silos, but the difficulty of getting the information makes things expensive, and makes mistakes expensive, and makes implementation a lot longer, right? So that's one. The second is, I still today, after a decade in this business, have trouble getting DOs. So development order, I think there's some architects in town, in the room. How hard is it to find DO of other developers? Very hard. I cannot find the development order of a plot of land next to me. So even for financial analysts, let's say, BFM finance, right? So a lot of investors want to go, hey, I want to invest in property. For example, this property counter, I want to know ABC developer, how good is his progress in developing this project that he announced? So if this investor, let's say he's sitting in PF, jagaing our money, he wants to check the development progress of ABC investor. Cannot. There's no way to get the DO data, the cadangan pembangunan, The interesting thing is I can get it for Penang, I cannot get it for KL. So is this kind of sort of inconsistency across states of openness of information and data that gives me business actually, but it makes other stakeholders harder, and they have to pay people like me to get that information from them.
At that time we call it ILAM, Electronic Local Authority Management System. So we launched it together when at that time Tan Sri Faisal, former mayor of Kuala Lumpur, when he was Datuk Bandar, yang di-Pertua Majlis Perbandaran still at that time, Pulau Pinang. That's why I got it. And I'm going to do it in Kuala Lumpur. So I've already started, and in terms of utility, they will be the Kuala Lumpur Utility KLUDC. We are now analyzing it because it started, spiked my mind that during the sinkhole, when the sinkhole incident, I totally agree with you. It's not easy to get the data. Whose pipeline is under the ground? IWK, Air Selangor, and then utility companies and all that. So I formed a task force. Let's share the data. Let's share the data, because I said that is very important, and I managed to get the first phase of the funding from the federal government, 10 million. I think the Prime Minister announced about 10 million for the first phase in the budget 2025, and we will have one center or one place where you can view and you can get the data on the underground. But not the whole Kuala Lumpur yet, but at least the CBD we are doing it now. At the same time, also in terms of landslide, you know, we have all the geotechnical report. I asked my colleague, what are you doing with the geotechnical report? So I said, yalah, pergi baca, betul simpan lah. You know, they don't want answer. But I said that, why can't we do it? Why can't we use this geotechnical report so that we can have all the report now? They are not open to public yet because we are still finalizing. But if you want to see, you can come to my office and I can show you. If only DBKL willing to share data, the other agencies, it's not easy, you know, to say, please, can we share your, can you bring, share your data? For example, you can give us the data, but it's very blurred. It's, oh, come on, you can have a better data. Please give it to me. So I think because if to a certain extent, my networking and the friendship with the CEO and all that, so please can give you a clearer data. So I think I call upon the technical agencies out there to share data with us, because these are very important. So I hope that one day you will go, it's what, maybe hopefully better than Penang, because Penang was done quite in the old days, but now we have a new tools and all that you can also see. But of course, to a certain extent, there are also private data. You know, the developer, if you want to see the real layout, I think correct me, I'm wrong, maybe a lawyers here, that you have to get the consent from the developer. But if you want to see how many units they are doing, and then what are type of the development, that one you can get from all data. But if you want to see the layout, I think that one you need the consent from the architect and also from the owner of the development. Thank you so much.